Catie was our firstborn, and she was born in late September, and she was gorgeous. And believe it or not, she cooed back and forth with me the first night she was born, which I didn't know how unusual that was at that point. But she had a little conversation with us the first night she was born. We noticed some developmental delays, probably when she was 6 or 7 months old, and we started looking into it. We talked to her doctor at her 9-month visit, and we started doing the things you do when you think there's a developmental delay. That led to an MRI, which led to the discovery of a mass in her brain 2 days before her first birthday. And we were taken by ambulance to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta at Scottish Rite. And on her first birthday, they took her away for a 5-hour surgery where they removed a 5-centimeter mass that we learned was medulloblastoma. So now my husband was facing with our daughter what his aunt had already faced with her daughter. Bailey is my husband's first cousin. She was born, I think she was actually born probably in 1990. And they knew shortly after birth that there was something wrong. They weren't sure what it was. But at 4 months of age, they discovered that she had medulloblastoma, which is a malignant brain tumor. And she was treated at Duke University, and she died right at her 2nd birthday. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, how horrible, and I hope that we would never have to endure something like that, because I didn't think we could do it. I remember the first moment I was brave enough to ask Trey's aunt, Bailey's mom, if Catie had the same thing as Bailey did. And I looked at her and very calmly and unemotionally said, "Is this what Bailey had?" And she looked at me and very calmly and unemotionally said, "Yes." And we moved on. And I was terrified to know that she had what had killed Bailey. We were a little luckier with Catie. She was with us till she was nearly 4 and a half. She was never off treatment from her first birthday until she died. In later conversations with Tori, we learned that the medicines that Catie received were the exact same drugs that Bailey received. There were nearly 15 years between their diagnosis. The research was not there for pediatric cancers. And because it wasn't there, there was not much hope that we could be offered with the same drugs that had been being used for years. But it wasn't enough in the long run, and we lost her in mid-January. And you know, you just never think that that's something that you're going to have to face as a family, especially when someone's already had to face it in your family. She was a true blessing. She lit up the room with her smile. She was mischievous, and there wasn't much she liked better than pulling a fast one on her daddy. She liked to get him any way that she could. Her one of her favorite toys was her silly old elf that came to visit at Christmas, and we still like to make memories with those silly old elves with our 2 healthy kids that are still living under our roof with us.
My youngest son, Brandon, was diagnosed with cancer when he was a month old. He had a tumor on his spine that was neuroblastoma, which is an aggressive form of childhood cancer. When Brandon was declared cancer-free, I really started looking into childhood cancer, and I learned that it's the leading cause of death due to disease in children. I learned that the incidence of cancer in children has been on the rise for the last 25 years. And so I became very concerned with what are we doing as a nation about this problem. And given the gravity of the problem, I was shocked to learn that, in fact, out of those billions and billions of dollars, less than 4% of federal funding is directed at research which looks specifically at childhood cancer. I figured, well, okay, if the federal government isn't investing in this, then surely pharmaceuticals are, and looking and spending research and development dollars on therapies, developing new drugs and treatments for children. But what I discovered was, in fact, they're not doing that because private industry is driven by profit, and there just aren't enough children diagnosed with cancer every year to spend the money looking at those drugs. There's just not enough profit potential there. In the hundreds of millions of dollars that I know are raised by the large cancer organizations every year, that surely those organizations are taking care of the children and are looking, are investing in research for cures. And I found that no, actually that's not the case. Those organizations tend to focus on, again, cancers which affect the most Americans. And so the kids are lumped in with the adults. In 2006, I joined CURE as executive director because I felt like I just had to be part of the effort to change things for children with cancer. And I loved CURE because the organization is only about children with cancer. It's only about finding cures for kids with cancer. And so that's what we focus on urgently and exclusively. We learned recently that a new drug has been approved by the FDA for use in children with brain tumors, and a clinical trial will be beginning very soon to test that drug. It's the first drug approved specifically for use in children with cancer in 30 years. So we're proud that we played a role in getting that drug out there, getting approval and getting it to the bedside where children can actually benefit from it.